Hey, grateful day. So, in today's video, we are going to be talking about how do you block off time, grasp that time management for the year of 2026, and plan out your life so that you can show up better in your business as an entrepreneur, as a CEO of your life and your business. And so, if you want to take charge of your schedule this year, stay tuned. Hey, welcome back, y'all, and happy 2026. And so, in today's chit chat, we are not going to be talking about building a profitable business just yet, but we will be talking about what comes before building out an elaborate, beautiful business that you want for this upcoming 12 months. And so, we are going to be talking about real life. And so, grab your tea or something to drink. Make sure that you grab a pen and paper. Think about this as me and you on FaceTime, or if you have an Android, whatever that's called, on your phone. And we are just sitting down and we are planning out our year. And we are going to start with our personal schedule first. Okay. So let me just go ahead and grab a sip of tea. All right, so you may be thinking, okay, what does she mean by personal life? And so I'm talking about your personal schedule, from your blackout time for self-care, your kid or children's schedule. If you already have things on the book, including doctor's appointments, dental appointments, and any other appointments that you have that are recurring, we are going to look at how do you incorporate that in your schedule to protect your time. So I want you to make sure that if you have a download, if you have an aha moment, that you pause this video, because I want to make sure that you are able to take action while we are talking today. Okay. So I'm going to take you step by step. Step one is block what is already non-negotiable. Okay. So I'm going to read to you my list from my notes. So if you see me kind of looking to the side, remember when you're on FaceTime. Okay. So don't judge a girl 2026. We just out here having a conversation. And so when you look at your already non-negotiables, I'm going to give you a list and I want you to think about and jot down what are some things that I need to go place inside my calendar. So first one would be, if you have children, it would be their school schedule, their activities. If you already have the sporting schedule, go ahead and grab those items off the computer, off the internet, or from your desk somewhere. And I want you to stack them up in one pile. Okay. Go ahead and do that right now. Right now. Okay. Now, next, I want you to look at standing activities like any other practices, tutoring. I'm talking about kids just right now. Any other activities that you know for sure you have the schedule, you've already invested, and they are participating in. This includes like swim lessons as well. Include doctor's appointments, dental appointments. If they got braces, how many follow-ups do they have that they need to go through all of these different procedures, mental health services, therapy, any type of appointments that are already probably in your calendar or somewhere in an app. I want you to gather those dates. Okay. Now, also when we look at personal, you want to think about your already outstanding family commitments. And so family commitments could include, but not limited to, family vacations. It could also include, when we think about kids' schedules, are you going to be taking off an extra day for work to be at home with your kids, to travel, to spend time with your loved one? Is it your marital or wedding anniversary? Is it your relationship anniversary? What are things, again, that should be put on your schedule that are non-negotiable? Okay. Now, again, I've already mentioned travel. We are going to talk about business in another part of this series. But if you want to go ahead and just grab those dates because they're in front of you, go ahead and grab those travel dates as it relates to personal and business. So think about it like this. If it already exists in real life, it belongs on my calendar first. That is my rule of thumb. Anybody who knows me, including everybody in this household, will know that if it's not on my calendar, it actually does not exist. And so if you want me to attend even a birthday party, as soon as someone texts me and say, hey, we're having a party for our kid, I will go to my calendar, I will go to the date, and I will first make sure before I RSVP, hello, respect people's time and money, okay? But before I RSVP, I will look to make sure that that date and that time block is available. And if it's not, I'm going to go ahead and block it off. So anything that comes after that is going to get booted off, okay? Now, step two is you want to look at scheduling your self-care like an appointment, okay? So again, I want you to pause and I want you to think about what I like my life to be for self-care, at least for the first 90 days of the year. But of course, if you want to be regimented for a full 12 months and then review it every quarter, that's perfectly fine. So you want to think about things like blocking out gym time. Gym time for me is very therapeutic and also for my health and nutrition. So while I do not go to the gym every day, I feel like I go about 6 out of 7 times a week, not to do strenuous training. Sometimes, especially because of the weather, I may choose to go and walk on the treadmill because I have a walking treadmill here, don't get me wrong. But sometimes it feels good, especially when you're working from home, to get outside of your home and just walk somewhere else. And so we are blessed enough to live in a community where the gym access is for free. So I will sometimes just literally go up there and walk on the treadmill at a 1.0, not too big, incline at like 2.5 to 3.0 because I'm listening to some personal development. I just need to get out of my regular environment. And so I actually block off from 6 a.m. until 9 a.m. on most days. And then I block off sometimes up to 10 a.m. based on other things I want to do. You also want to block out within that big time frame. Start brainstorming. What are some of the activities that you want to do during that time? Do you want it to be your quiet time, your prayer time, your affirmation time? Do you want also some self care time to be in the evening? Do you want it to be in the middle of the day? My schedule got so, I'm not going to say chaotic, but I just recognized that my peak times of being very woke fluctuated over the last like 18 months that I realized I needed to set an alarm on my phone to say stop working. It's called a hard stop time. And I had to force myself to stop working specifically on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, because Thursday we have a different schedule. And I wanted myself to stop working around 1 or 1:30 unless I'm already seeing a client and then I need to wrap up at 1:45, 2 o'clock when I'm done with them because I need to do a transition and a break to transition into motherhood when my kids come home from school. So that's also something you want to consider. I do not like telling my son that I'm tired. Now, granted, if we tired, we tired. But I don't want him to have that feeling like, wow, I've been going out the house all day because he don't know, he don't understand the energetics around working, right? He just know mommy work on her computer. She work from home. It looks fun. She gets to travel. But what he doesn't realize is the emotional and brain capacity it takes to do what I do as a clinical psychologist and therapist business coach. And so if you are new here, my name is Dr. TK. I am a licensed clinical psychologist in the state of California. I have a private practice in the community, not one-on-one therapy. We talk about scaling your expertise. I am a scales coach. And then I coach mental health therapists throughout the United States and across 5 different countries over the last decade or so. Okay. So make sure that you subscribe and like this video if you want to hear more about that. All right, let's go ahead and get back into it. So you also want to put on your calendar time for days off or half days. So one of the days of the week, one of our kids get out of school early every single week, unless it's we're about to go into a break period like the holiday break. And then it may increase to 2 minimum days or something like that. And so because I know that there is one particular day that is a half day, I am very intentional even with what I choose to block out on that day because I know that he's going to be coming home about 3 hours early. Okay. So what you want to make clear of in this step is that self-care, especially as a provider, as a mom, as a parent, caregiver, is that self-care is not um, negotiable. Okay. So if it is not scheduled, let me just come close. It becomes optional. If it is not scheduled, it becomes optional. Okay. And optional things are the actual items that get canceled first. And so if you wondered why it feels like you always putting yourself on a back burner, it is because you are intentionally not plugging yourself into your calendar. And yes, you need to do that. Okay. Now, step three is if you are anything like me and you live in a world in 2026 where you are very overstimulated by the doom scroll effect. Let's be real. When I start laughing and I just keep scrolling and then I look up into an hour later. Or everything that I do in my business is mostly online outside of going to live events. That's where I believe in pen and paper. So I'm going to link things down below. They are very nice, soft. They're aesthetically pleasing. One thing that I love about these journals is that they lay flat. I got them from Walmart under $6. I did get 4 of them. Yes, I did. Because I want to have one for every quarter. Yes, I did. And I also bought what's called, I buy these every year, even though it's for 2 years. I don't know why, but I got this for 2026, 2027. I'll link this below as well. It is the 2 year planner from January 2026 to December 2027. Now, the one reason that I like yearly or like monthly planners is that I can use it for content planning. I can use it for vacation planning. This is not to swap out my electronic calendars, which we'll go over in a moment, but instead, it helps me sometimes look at the vision pen to paper when I'm feeling overstimulated by doing everything online. And depending on what season you are in your life, you actually might need to write things down just as a repetition to remember that certain things are there. Or maybe you get a pencil, maybe a mechanical pencil, you write out things in this little $5 monthly calendar, and then you transfer the final version to your electronic calendar. So I know that that sounds like a lot of steps, but in order to organize your thoughts and your day and your life and your year, you got to figure out what works best for you in this season. And let me be clear, what worked last year, what maybe even worked last month, may not work for your brain capacity right now. Okay. So some of the things that I want you to think about when it comes down to pen to paper and or electronically is you want to think about seasons of your life. You want to think about blocking out themes for days. So, for example, at one point for more than half of 2025, Wednesdays were my community mental health day, which is the days that I was always available. We would give them a long block of time, but we do a 2 hour training virtually or in person. And we would block out that time for me to either drive or do the virtual training, meaning they got access to my calendar 90 days at a time. I choose to release my calendar in 90-day increments because I just don't like to go month to month for things that are consistent, especially when it comes down to consistency and revenue. Okay. So I had Wednesdays. Then when my life started to change with my kids' schedules and my schedule and my energy, I then said, I don't want to have so much block time on Wednesday. Let's do Wednesday and Friday because this season I want to get out the house on Fridays. My kids are no longer playing football because that's why I couldn't do Fridays. But now that that's open, I actually want to do Fridays. Fridays for me is kind of like my weekend. I don't like traffic. So I may want to do a virtual workshop or a workshop that I can do early in the morning and get back home later, in the afternoon, not the evening. Okay. There were particular days and times that I would also block out for clients, for actual coaching programs. Some of our coaching programs, and you're going to see it on a calendar in which I'm going to share my screen in a moment, but some of my coaching programs, they have monthly calls on the same week and day and time of each month. Then, and those are more like 12-month cohort programs. And then we have programs where they know they're going to have calls in a certain period of time based on their cohort that they came in. We will give them their calendar, but I make those calendars every quarter because at any given point, something can change because those programs are more high value. And I was going to say like more high volume, but it is high value. And I want to make sure that I am committed for that 90-day time frame to show up at my best capacity. Okay. Now, also, you may want to jot down in this paper calendar some future commitments. And so, one of the things that I play around with a lot, if you know me by now, you could probably see it in my old vlogs that I have mixed into this channel, is your girl loves to travel, whether it's for business, whether it's for business and personal, whether it's just for personal, going to the beach, going to Hawaii, your girl is here for it. And so, with that in mind, I like to plan personally when are the seasons that I want to travel? And then, of course, I got to look at budget, got to look at kids' schedules, and I'll take all of that in consideration. But that's the nice part about scheduling out your year. Okay. And then you also want to take in consideration block out times with some content. Do you need to post and create the post for social media, for YouTube, for a podcast? You want to carve out time so that your life can be regimented and scheduled. And the reason I say this is that I know that it takes energy to be able to plan. I get that, and some people's brain works differently. All of our brains work differently. However, what I will tell you with a person who has suffered from anxiety in the past, who suffers from perfectionism, who suffers from overthinking all the time, right? Is that I find that I actually decrease my anxiety, decrease my self-sabotaging thoughts and all the things in between when I actually feel organized. And the way that I feel organized is putting pen to paper and then putting it on my Google Calendar. So again, this is not replacing a digital calendar. This is for you to think clearly, have a vision, and actually breathe. Okay. Now, step number four is choosing your tools. And so I want you to take this model of keeping things simple. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through, I'm going to share my screen in a moment, and I'm going to show you how I use Google Calendars because we have G Suite in my company and how we tailor it for me as a person and as a business owner, meaning person, as a wife, mom, self care, all the things, travel, right? Live events for my business, coaching calls for my clients. I have different calendars, and I'm going to just walk you through how I personally use it on both sides, personal and business. And then I'm also going to talk to you about how it actually helps if you do feel overstimulated on screens, because one calendar system to me is enough. But like I said, if you need to get your thoughts out, you may want to brain dump on a sheet of paper and then transfer it to the digital space. So let me switch screens and then I'm going to walk you through my calendar. Okay, so right now you are looking at my Google Calendar, okay? And so what I want to bring your attention to first, let me see if I can make it a little bigger. What you're looking at to the left is that I have a lot of calendars. Definitely need to clean these up, but for the most part, they represent pretty much what we played with and what we use throughout the year. And I say we, meaning me and my admin team. So I'm going to walk you through some of these calendars so that you can see why I may have so many. You don't need this many, you probably need two or three. So the Dr. TK calendar is my end all be all calendar. If things are not on that calendar, you definitely won't see me. Okay. So that is where, all of my appointments do filter over to, including trainings. I put my self care on there, and we'll talk about it in the next step. However, one of the things that I've realized is that in order to leverage my time and to not have to cover my calendar and help people see all of my availability when they want to book me all the time, is that I need to get things organized. And then I need to train a team member so that they can protect my calendar. Okay. So this is what I mean by that. If I click that, you will notice that it has out of the office and then it has like team meeting. I put my availability on here. So just in case, my team member says, hey, when are you available, for X, she can go in there and see when is all of my availability for certain things in the month. Okay. So some of these calendars are linked to different activities that we've done. So I'm going to skip over those. When we've used Calendly for certain coaching calls, those go here. I'm not going to check it right now just because I protect people's information, like their name and things like that. Coaching call schedule. Now, this is pretty huge. For us, this could be for you mental health activities. It can be whatever you want in your streams of income. But because we use a calendar system, especially when we've done in the past one-on-one coaching calls, especially for the last like 8 years, we've used Calendly, is that I will intentionally put our coaching call calendar for the whole year here, to the point where one of our programs from time to time has guest speakers, support coaches, really. And in order for my team member to schedule them, because she's the one that's emailing them, I am responsible for going in and we could have a discussion about it. She can like literally put this on here, but I choose to, because I like to organize it. I go and look at the quarter and I say, okay, for some of these programs, like this program right here, our Therapist Scale Academy, they meet at the same time every single month throughout the whole freaking year. It does not matter where I am. They're going to meet at that time, etc. But then there are some programs where it may be, depending on a holiday, at a different, week of the month. Okay. So you can see that there are acronyms related to our coaching or mentorship or membership programs, throughout the year. And that's my coaching calendar. Now, this is more for sometimes if I don't want to use a physical calendar, it's called the content calendar. So if I go backward, you'll see here when we were in an open enrollment period for our private practice academy, my team member, I wanted her to make sure that she understood when were we scheduling emails so that if somebody were on our list, they're not getting 2 to 3 emails at a time, because we forgot that we also sent the newsletter, then we sent the launch email. And some people may be on both lists. And so she goes in here and she puts the time, like 6 a.m. is open enrollment email. And then at 7 a.m. is something else that we sent out to another group of people. We segment our list. But this is just an example of how we can keep track of what kind of emails are we sending out. And then right here, you can see is Dr. TK's mental health calendar, which is for if any of my one-on-one clients do come back because they're as needed, that will be there. I'm gonna skip past these because some of these are program specific. Personally, I do have a schedule here for the first one to be created was called Family Business. I'm not going to click on it because my kids' schedules are on there. But for Family Business, originally it was for my husband and my eldest son. And if you don't know anything about my background, we do have a blended family. And so we have two kids, 7 years apart, two boys, and they are in completely different school districts, about 40 miles apart from each other. Okay. And totally different school schedules. So, with that in mind, we have to really make sure that we're on this scheduling thing. And so, because his schedule changes literally every week with us, with school, with sports, is that we have to make sure that his schedule is planned out for the whole year. So, I have certain things in there that are like, these are the days of the week that we get him every week. These are the weekends that we get him every other weekend or the third weekend or the holiday, etc. So there are no questions. And I also did that so that my husband don't say, well, do we got him on this? Look at the calendar, right? Because let's be real, women, we are the ones that organize it, right? And so I have the family business calendar that also keeps track of our family vacations, if we have any appointments related to all of us, but specifically the eldest. But my youngest son also has a calendar on here. It's called Sun Schedule. And that's where I invite my husband to all these calendars. It's just not me on here. So it alleviates any type of conversation that honestly doesn't need to happen. So with my youngest son, because he's with us full time, I will then go and plug in his sports schedule, his school schedule. And what I do as a parent, please write this down. We live in an area where they actually put out our schedule for 3 years straight. Now, I choose to only plug in 1 year at a time. I'm not doing the whole yearly thing every year for 3 years in a row right now. But I will look at his school year and I will take literally 20 minutes and I will go in and put in holiday break, off season, minimum day. I will put all that stuff in there. Okay. Whatever is on the main calendar. Now, there are some things that are not on the main calendar that basically you have to watch the calendar every month, where our school does send out a Saturday newsletter where we need to keep track of when our parent teacher conferences and things like that. But again, if it's not on my calendar, it does not exist. Okay. So just wanted you to see some examples of our calendar. So let's go back and let's finish up talking about how to protect your time. Okay, so what I can summarize about step four with digital calendars is that for me, it is the best system because I can only use like one system at a time so that I don't get overwhelmed. And so figure out what worked best for you again in your season of life. And so step five is why this comes before delegation. And this means organizing your time. When you think about time as an entrepreneur, as a CEO of your life, of your business, of your job, whatever you're a CEO of, you want to make sure to understand that time is a currency. Time is the one currency you actually do not get back. And time and organizational hacks are the very thing that will keep a lot of people from being successful at their job, in their business, navigating their personal life and their household, just because we either cannot sit down, cannot find the time, may need quiet time based on our brain activity, or choose not to actually sit down to organize our time. And so I want to give you some things to think about as to why you want to sit down and plan out what we talked about today, at minimum, your personal life. So before you hire a personal assistant, a virtual assistant, just an assistant, they got different titles, right? You got to clean up your calendar. Okay. So, like for me, I need to go and delete any calendars that are no longer in existence because we don't use them anymore. Okay. Your calendar does become one of your first training manuals for the person that you hire. I learned when I really started scaling my business into seven figures that one of the best things that I could do is train one of my team members of how to protect my time with my calendar, which means I should not be going back and forth via emails with agencies trying to schedule me and clients trying to schedule me. Nope. Here's my calendar. Yes, she has access to my calendar. Yes, I went through a thorough process making sure that I can trust the person that I hired. Because if you are the person that says, I don't know if I want to give them access to all of that, treat it like social media, like a public profile. For me, I'm going to give her access to my son's calendar because she is a team member that's in charge of my calendar. If there are things that are related to a doctor's appointment that I don't want her to see, I'm just not going to put it on the calendar. I'll put it on my notepad on my phone. I'm not going to get in her way of doing her job that will ultimately help me show up better in my genius zone in my business. So These are things that you want to do with your calendar. You want to share your calendar with your main admin key person, okay, to protect your time. You want them to be able to see. So either you have to give them your login or there's a setting where you can actually share the calendar, okay? So you want them to be able to see your business and your kids' calendars, especially if they need that to schedule you or schedule clients. Okay. Also, boundaries become more clearly defined once other people that are scheduling things for you have some parameters. So sometimes they can't do your job or they can't help you do your job better because you haven't given them boundaries and training of how to protect your time with your calendar and you have not cleaned it up and or set it up. Okay. And also it alleviates, like I said a moment ago, a lot of back and forth approvals needed, including people in your household. Okay. So delegation works best when your boundaries are already documented. Okay. So lastly, before we close out, I want you to think about your calendar month to month, but specifically in a quarterly rhythm. Now, again, you choose what works best for you. I choose quarterly and then to look at it at the top of the month or maybe at the end of the month, right before we start the new month, so I can make any changes that are needed. Okay. But I want you to find something that is simple that works for you. So here's some basic tips. Update your calendar monthly. Look at your quarterly schedule ahead of time. Okay. Also, over time, your VA or your assistant will learn your patterns because I hope that you're talking to them through weekly team meetings or something, right? And then your time will get protected automatically once you get on a rhythm. So, this is how you actually get your time back. It's not just, I need to add another stream of income, I need to make this amount of money. If you are the jack of all trades in your own business, you are also called the what is it called? Bottleneck of your business, which means that you actually will never be able to take time off and actually earn money while you're off if you're always in charge of everything and you're always needing to micromanage everything. So today was all about your personal life with a little hint of business. Okay. In part two of this series, we are going to talk about what are you now going to do with this time that you have structured and that time that you have back to organize yourself so that you actually can work in your genius zone. If you're a stay-at-home mom, you determine what that genius zone is. Is the genius zone organizing how you're going to clean your home, how you're going to homeschool your children? Is your genius zone as a part-time or full-time employee or contractor? You need to create content. Maybe you are starting your business on the side part-time. Maybe you are already a part-time or full-time business owner, entrepreneur, and you have to carve out time to create content, to market your business, right? To dive into your coaching programs if you're in our community, log into the portal and do the work so that you can expedite your results and get to work. Okay. So from content creation to productivity to high impact business time, also called as CEO time, we're going to be breaking what I do down. I'm going to show you step by step of what I do every single quarter to proclaim my time back. So if you like this video, if you like this series, if you also want to learn more about scalable streams of income as a mental health provider and a little mix of, being a mom as well and being a CEO, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, like this video, and also comment to me below what gets in your way of actually managing your time. I know that's a little vulnerable, but I'm curious because if I know what the problem is, I can actually address it also in the other parts of the series, or we can also take it on Instagram, or I could just outright do a whole Q&A, right? So put in the comment box, what gets in the way of you organizing your schedule? Is it simply you just don't take out the time to do it? Is it that you need to do something with your brain activity so that you can calm down? Do you need to go to a quiet space? What is it? Okay. So, like I said, this is going to be a multi-part series. Now, lastly, this series was actually brought to you by the INHER Collective. So, the INHER Collective is our membership community for women to empower women to design a life first business. And that's why I keep hinting at, hey, I'm a psychologist, but I'm also a wife. I'm a mom. I have a lot of hats and it can be overwhelming. But at the end of the day, I want to have a beautiful life. I want to have an abundant life, but I also want to pour into my business, but I don't want to reach a level of burnout where I'm not good at anything I do, right? So they actually have a challenge that goes along with this particular chit chat today. So if you want to learn more about the INHER Collective, if you want to be around a very intimate group of women that are entrepreneurs that are designing their life the way that they want it, then check out the description box. Join us in our community. We also talk about streams of income exposure and really what is possible based on your season of life and business. But until the next time that we chit chat, you have a great day and I will talk to you soon. Bye.